Dear Chatgpt, how do you date? I never really got to date in my 20s. I met my ex-husband really young. So I'm dating right now in my 40s and I'm having healthy relationships. I look and feel amazing, and that's all you can do, right? And I always say I like to use my youthfulness like my white privilege to help other people, and that's the truth. That awkward moment when you realize that you're in your 40s and you don't know how to date. Welcome to another episode of the Me IRL pod. I'm your host, Lauren Friedman, also known as Not Another Healing Asshole, also known as the Trauma Translator. Today, we're going to make it really short and sweet. I'm on my way outside, but I had to just hop on here and holla at y'all for a second because life is crazy. What is going on with people in society, truly? The easiest way for me to date after divorce, after healing, lifelong undiagnosed survival mode, adrenal fatigue, complex trauma, sex and love addiction, sobriety, unemployment, divorce, the list can go on and on and on, is how do I know if someone is safe or not, whether it's romantic, professional, in a friendship, or just safe to like be around? Can they answer a direct question? Do they have the ability to answer a direct question? And if the answer is no, bye, I'm out. Like, I went out with a man this weekend and very simply, I was like, he mentioned that he was divorced for 2 years. And I was like, oh, how long were you married? And he couldn't give me a year. He couldn't give me a date. I didn't press further because I'm not in the business of trying to extract truth from people that are committed to hiding and avoiding and not speaking their truth. That's what got me into this very dangerous situation. And I'm also not in the business of trying to fix people. I'm also not like, just because you're lonely doesn't mean that I'm your answer, because I may be alone, but I'm not lonely. I've done a lot of deep work. And now when I'm dating without dysfunction, dating while being divorced, dating while being single for the first time in my whole life, with clarity, with discernment, with agency, with calmness in my body, I use my Camuso shift everywhere. Like before, after, during dates, if I need to, or any engagement that I have on this planet. Like, I want to go outside. Obviously, I have all this, I have all of these sunscreens. Lipstick isn't even on, but truly, I had to like just take a breath because George Costanza's father was right. Serenity now. Like, my ex-husband, I used to think he was the safest, nicest person I've ever met in my life. I thought he was the only person on this planet that had my back, but it turns out not only did he not have my back, but he didn't have his own back, and he still doesn't. And, one of the things that ruins relationships is requesting people to do things that you wouldn't do yourself, that you can't do yourself, that you've never done yourself, and you don't provide them conditions of safety in order to execute this successfully. He got on the phone today with me and tried to tell me about a 3-hour YouTube video about making content. And he's been trying to tell me to do this for so many years. And I'm like, bro, you don't give me conditions of safety in order to feel safe to do so, because every time I drop a video or I drop a reel or I drop a post across platforms, another relative sues. Like, what am I, Eminem? What the do you want from me? $10 million? Get the out of here. See, I'm just Lauren Friedman. I'm not a regular girl. I know why all the fuss about me, but that's like the truth. And like, so I'm like, bro, this is a contradiction. You're telling me to drop my truth across platforms because authenticity is the only thing that works. It's the only thing people can relate to. Like, this is a very real situation about never feeling safe in my body or my mind or with anybody around me, and always choosing people that were unsafe. And I thought they were safe because trauma, that stress that overwhelms your ability to cope and or contradicts your worldview, is something that actually makes safe situations look unsafe and unsafe situations look safe. So I stayed in this really unsafe situation that my body was screaming at me to get out of from literally the first 6 months that we started dating until I was almost dead in like the last few years. And I had no idea how to get out of it. And the only way I was able to get out was through healing, but at a nervous system level, with nervous system literacy, learning how to listen to my body. So I went out on this date with this man the other day, and on paper he sounded great, but anyone can say anything. I'm not going to be settling anymore for perceived safety. I don't need to. I've done so much deep work that if someone hasn't done their own work, and I don't call it like doing work, but I have done all of the work. Like, I don't believe in healed. It's always be healing, but I've done so much work that I'm not the person I was even 6 months ago or 3 months ago. And I could see through things with clarity and agency. And I know that speaking my truth will only yield really good results, and in a kind way, right? Like, I wasn't trying to hurt his feelings. Like, he sounded great on paper, but I also asked myself, if I wasn't in this situation, would I even entertain this man at all? And the answer is no. Did we have anything in common? Yeah. Like, professionally, definitely. And does he like to travel? 100%. Did he promise me all these different things? Yeah. But did I eat it up? No, because I'm not desperate. I'm not dating with desperation. I'm not making decisions out of desperation. I'm not seeking safety in others. I found it in myself. So I was able to communicate with him in a very clear way that said, hey, I don't see this as something that's going to be in a romantic fashion. I don't want to waste your time. Like, if you want to stay in touch, great. And I got no response. And like, he was 57. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't do 57-year-old boys. Like, it's so unappealing. And like, I'm not saying he was a boy. I'm saying that it's funny. I was talking about this to Lily, mindfulbeauty.life, and she said, that sounds like narcissistic. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. But to me, it was just desperate. He was so desperately trying to paint this picture of, oh, these are all the things that you could get, because he thought that I was desperate. And that's the thing about dating when your financial situation is not, or doing anything when your financial situation is not safe. Like, my ex-husband's family stole from us in the family business, and they defrauded us, and they've never taken responsibility, and they've gone to great lengths to attack me legally. So my ex-husband wants me to post all this stuff all the time because he knows I have things of consequence that people would want to hear. But he also is honestly, like, he is impotent. He's an impotent person. And I'm not talking about his eggplant. I'm talking about in his body. This is called a freeze. He has no ability to affect change in his life, and he always seeks it in me. And he can never do any of the things that he wants me to do. And I can't do it with a level of safety on a consistent basis, because every time I drop a video, another relative sues or threatens to sue. It doesn't make me feel safe. So if you want your partner to execute upon something that you desire, you need to create conditions of safety to do so. And when you're able to create it in your own mind, body, soul, you don't seek it in others. And I know that I will get out of this situation. I told this to my therapist yesterday. Like, I went to the dermatologist a few weeks ago to look at a mole that I thought changed, just to give myself peace of mind. It was right before my birthday, and I didn't want like an obsessive looped thought going through my head. So now I'm just doing it. I'm not going to ERs. I'm not like the boy who cried wolf. Like, I never, but if I have something on my skin that changes, or I have this cyst underneath my boob that like I'm always looking out for, that really presents itself during high stress moments, I want to get it looked at quicker. And I'm grateful that I have the support now. I reinstated my health insurance as of Monday of this week. And the thing is like, when you learn how to exist with yourself, you don't seek it safety in others. Like, the first thing this man said when he sat down was, oh yeah, like, I really wanted to meet up because like, I'm so lonely. And I'm like, that's like not a reason that I want to be sitting across from you, like, at all. Like, he was a lovely man. I had a good time, but would I want to hang out with him again? No. And I'm not going to force things anymore, because out of perceived safety, I stayed in a marriage that did not serve me, that it was making me miserable, it was making me ill. And I should have left many, many times. And now I stayed so long that it became dangerous for me because of men not being able to communicate on their own. My ex-husband can't even state to an attorney what has transpired. He can't even state it to my therapist. That's why in 2022, I lost my during one of a session that I had him in. I was like, you're never coming to one of my sessions again. And now I've like officially, that boundary exists now. But I wasted years in couples therapy with him for him to do nothing, for him to have the same problems, but worse, because of his parents' financial problems that pre-exist me by decades. And I had all the power, but I didn't know it. And I was making money. I knew that, but I thought he was saving it. And he never could communicate. He couldn't communicate his truth. So in 2022, when he joined my therapy session, he couldn't even state that his parents got into financial trouble. And we didn't know the full scope of the issue, but we knew like a sliver of a lie that had been told to him. And he couldn't even say that. So now we're still in a much more dangerous situation. And I'm not outsourcing safety to him any longer. I'm not letting him affect my body. My body internalizes everything. Your bodies hear things. That's how I work with people, is to help people reconnect to their bodies or connect for the first time. Like, I was connecting for the first time at almost 40 years old. I had to learn how to live in my body and listen to its sacred wisdom. And it's so important, because the man on Saturday night that I went out with sounded great on paper. And any other person, literally any other woman in this situation, would have gone out minimally on a second date with him. And I was like, I'm good. I was sick on Sunday, and it was a combination of lots of things. It was my sister's birthday. It was Father's Day. She was born on Father's Day. You know, I'm in this limbo for this prolonged period of time, and I just didn't want to go out with him again. And he was perfectly lovely. He even asked me out for a second date before he even left this area. And my body just kept saying no. And it wasn't because I was fearful of it. It's because he did not have any type of alignment. There was no connection. It was so forced. Like, I didn't want to walk outside with him. And I saw a flicker of anger that, like, I don't need this anymore. And I see through people's conversations so quickly. Like, my best friend of what would have been 40 years this month, I ended the relationship in January of this year because she couldn't respond to a direct question. And it was a direct question out of care, not out of compulsion, not out of anxiety, out of, are you okay? Or like whatever those direct questions were. So then I stopped answering her direct questions. Like, she's like, oh, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. And I just would ignore the question like she did. And like, good. That's your own medicine now. But when I see it in others, I know they're not for me, because this is exactly how I got into this position. Because there are a lot of people that cannot speak their truth. They cannot live with themselves. They escape themselves every second possible, because that's the only thing they know how to do. That's the only thing I knew how to do. And what I do is, when I consult with people, whether it's personally or professionally, I help them get to a place of safety so that they could speak their truth. They can make better decisions, right? Like, I didn't make a decision out of desperation. I'm not putting myself in dangerous situations. I'm not going to, he was like, oh, I'll drive you here and we could do this and we go to dinner. And guess what? I don't even like to eat. So I don't need to be taken out to dinners. I don't need another chauffeur. That's basically what my ex-husband did, both of those things. And I don't need that. You know, like, I need a partner. I need protection. I need a provider. I need an actual partner, somebody on my level who we actually connect with. And I could connect with anybody. That's, you know, survival mode is a superpower. That's why a lot of people feel like they're like, oh, we could talk all night. Yeah, I could talk to this microphone all night and have a great time. But that doesn't mean that I want to fill your loneliness. You know what I mean? Unless you're paying me. I'm really good as a paid provider to fill the loneliness gap. But, you know, from a romantic standpoint, it's really unattractive to tell somebody, oh, I was just so lonely. Like, it's very clear to me that people are running from themselves and have no understanding of their own capacity when they literally don't know how to stop. And I see myself in a lot of different people because I didn't know how to stop. And I threw myself into my work to avoid the actual work that I had to do, which was coming to terms with my failed marriage and what was actually happening in the family business that my ex-husband still is a part of. And, you know, the fact that they took advantage of my ability to make money, my ability to solve every problem. In fact, they took advantage of every vulnerability. His dad called me a concept. And he's like, you're not a person, you're a concept. And this has been going on for 2 decades. He attacked me for many years, and he was always projecting his own failures onto me. And I used to internalize that. And when I learned that hurt people, and people who can't show up for themselves can't show up for you, it changed everything for me. And that's how I stopped internalizing things. And that was like the first step towards finding self-love. And it's not a one-step process, right? It was like one of billions that I have to find each day. One of the ways I do it is finding solace in the sun, finding solace in nature, finding solace outside, reconnecting with myself outside, and finding my own alignment and my own voice. Like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'll say it across every single episode. No one ever looks at me and thinks that girl doesn't know how to speak her truth. But the reality is that when you live in dysregulation, it prevents you from speaking your full truth. That's why my nails are 50 shades of blue, the throat chakra, speaking your truth, not living in shame. I used to carry his parents' financial shame everywhere I went, to the point where it got me sick. And I'm not going to carry that anymore. That's theirs. They need to own their own shame, and they need to own their own failures, and they need to own their own actions. And if people are so concerned about what I have to talk about, maybe you should look at how you behaved. And I just don't understand. Like, this man wants me to go on public platforms and speak. He took on all the legal claims that are associated with this situation, with his family. And then he wants to try to attack me. So a lot of people don't realize it, but they're fighting with themselves, right? And a lot of times we're just collateral damage in other people's wars against themselves. And that's what the situation I found myself in my whole life. And I finally found the way to get out of it. And that's through nervous system literacy, listening to my body, listening to sacred wisdom, knowing that sometimes the logic on paper really is not the actual wisdom that you should be listening to, because it's your body's wisdom. And I knew that once I made that decision, I was done. I felt lighter. I felt so happy. It's every single thing in my life. I'm not going to get stuck in another perceived safety situation because I think like another man is going to have my back. They just don't, because they can't have their own backs. And when I see the way people treat their children or how they engage with them or the relationship or lack thereof, I capture everything. I just say in the moment, yeah, great, because I believe in safety, but I'm never going to put myself in that situation again. So as I've been dating, I've kept one foot in the present and one foot knowing in the past, and it's been beautiful. That's the true meaning of healing. Dear Chatgpt, how do you date? Like, do you go out with people, even though I don't want to like force myself into things anymore? It's time for the Camuso shift. Cheers to neuroplasticity, healthy habits, breaking addictions, and building new, beautiful habits. So a few things to think about. One, you are the biggest proponent. Like literally this morning, you told me about a 3-hour video I should watch to scale my YouTube channel. You want me to do this because you always want me to take the fall. You want me to take the hit. You want me to speak on your behalf because you can't formulate sentences. 2, you treated me like the enemy our whole marriage. Before I was the enemy, when I was a good wife, when I was a good girlfriend, when I did exactly what your parents asked me to do and it still wasn't good enough. And when I did everything you asked me to do and I still never got anything in return. So because you treated me like the enemy and you treated your parents like your wife, guess what? I hope you like what I have coming. You're the one that wants me to do this. You're the one that encourages my YouTube channel scaling. You literally are like, go on YouTube, speak. You need to do this. And the thing is that I am. This is your idea. And I just want you to remember that. And also, if anyone has any questions or legal claims related to this and or associated matters, please speak directly to my now ex-husband. He has taken on all legal claims in the divorce because this is something that I shouldn't be responsible for. The only thing I am responsible for is not getting out in time, is internalizing their own failures as my own and hiding their shame as my own, you know, and begging my ex-husband to marry me instead of just leaving because I was unhappy and thinking that he was safe and that he was kind and that he was my best friend. And none of those things are true. He's not kind. Kind people don't allow this series of events to happen. And he wasn't safe. He's still not safe. And he isn't my best friend. Best friends don't do this to each other. Just like I ended my 40-year friendship for the same reason, the same avoidance, the same inability to speak, the same inability to have my back ever or to reach out to me or to treat me like your family. Well, now I'm the enemy to everybody. And it's because I have self-respect. And I have self-love, and I'm speaking my truth, and I'm not living in shame. So, I hope you have a really good night. It's about to get really fun. But truly, it's so crazy to invite your child into a business and then steal from him and make him go into debt and destroy his wife's life. And like, why? Just be able to fucking have a conversation. This could have all been solved. And the thing is that you could blame other people all you want, but the facts speak for themselves. And I'm not going to be the scapegoat and the savior anymore. That's not my role in this life. And it's not yours either. And often we wear many roles, many dysfunctional family roles. And my ex can't do anything. He's never been able to do anything. He doesn't even have a fucking resume. He hasn't had a resume on a computer since 2005 minimally. That's 21 years. So when we think about why we're in these situations of dysfunction, we also have to look at the people around us. And I used to think that this man provided safety. I thought that I thrived in his environment as compared to my family. But the reality is that I didn't. I was surviving. I also used to think, like, literally when I lost my job at Oracle, as part of my goodbye letter, I literally wrote something like, I thrive in chaos. And that's the truth. And the thing is that thriving in chaos isn't a good thing. It's survival mode is a superpower. So what I thought was thriving with my ex-husband was really surviving. And I was surviving in chaos. And in a really high functioning fashion. And a lot of people do. Some of the biggest, most successful people in the world. I mean, if we look at what's going on a global scale, it's an attachment wound on a global scale. That's what Donald Trump is. He's literally an unhealed attachment wound. And my ex-father-in-law is the same thing, except he's not as smart. And like Donald Trump is not the person that I consider to be intelligent. So it's a real thing. And I don't know why all these 80-year-old men are ruining my life. I really don't. I don't know why these people are still in power. Aren't you supposed to retire? Go to bed. Like, what are you doing? Like, go to sleep. I thought there's like Asian countries that used to like send their elders out to sea. That's what we should start doing as a society. It would solve a lot of problems. We wouldn't have to have elder care. We wouldn't have to have presidents running in their 80s, destroying the world. We wouldn't have to have ex-father-in-laws who won't ever retire but refuse to touch their retirement account, if they even have one, or even disclose their financials. Like, I don't... It's so frustrating, and I will get out of this one day. And you're gonna watch me do it. And until then, stay tuned. We've only just begun. It's true. And my ex treated me like the enemy the whole time and treated his parents like his wife. Well, guess what? I'm now your enemy. And you can't do anything about it because you took on all the legal claims. This is what happens when you don't control your life. Everyone else gets to control your life for you. And I was so good at controlling my life, and I controlled everyone else's life around me, that I got in this situation. But I'm also going to get myself out of it. And I'm going to use every bit of my brilliant brain to extract myself from this situation. But I'm never going to be in another relationship with somebody who can't speak truth, who can't answer direct questions, who can't solve problems. I am a proactive, consultative human, consultative seller, problem solver. I'm actually a solutions consultant and a problem solver and a brainstormer. That's like what I'm doing corporately and B2B. And I always have solutions. If you have a problem, I'll solve it. And the fact that this hasn't been solved for all this time isn't because of me. It's because of people who actually don't want to solve it. And they live together and they work together and they drive together and they don't want to solve it. And I'm not going to be the collateral damage in someone else's war against themselves any longer. I've spent my entire life like that. I got myself out of survival mode. I'm not going to be silenced any longer. So just remember, he wanted me to do this. You could talk to him. He thinks every day of ways for me to scale my YouTube channel. What do you think I'm going to talk about it on it, bro? What do you think I'm going to talk about? The situation that destroyed my life and how I'm never going to get back into it again, and how you're going to prevent yourself from getting into the same exact type of thing, and how this isn't just for me, this is for everybody. It's for people who are dating. How to select safe partners, how to date without dysfunction. Guess what? You have to heal your nervous system wounds, and it all starts with finding a connection to yourself, connection to a higher power, and connection to others. And it's really hard. But when you have that in alignment, you can go back to yourself over and over and over again and speak your truth and not live in shame. I have now officially hit a new threshold of speaking my truth, and I'm really grateful for it, because it was something I couldn't even do, like even a few months ago. And now I am. I remembered my power, and I hope you do too. If you ever need a little confidence boost or remembering your power, hit me up. I do those favorite hype girl sessions, because that's what I'm known for. You know, my pep talk turned into a pep rally. Come on. Effing Problems is like one of my favorite songs. It might be my anthem. No, I have like so many songs. You know, Sister Golden Hair. This is my hair like air dry. I don't care anymore. I really don't. It's summertime and the living's easy. It's true. It's never easy. I've never had anything easy, and I'm not complaining, but this is not an acceptable situation, especially given the fact that I was the one who maintained their facade with my financial prowess. I don't know, but with the ability that I was able to make a lot of money, and then I couldn't, and I don't know what the fuck to do. And this isn't a good situation in society where people can just destroy other people's lives because they feel like it. But I'm gonna make sure that this gets solved once and for all. And the things I used to internalize used to make me sick. I used to think there were things wrong with me. Why won't my husband, boyfriend, partner, friend, do the things that are right for us? Why is everyone else's husband like changing their jobs or doing what they need to do to move forward? And my ex-husband's dad made his financial burdens ours, that wasn't even fully disclosed, or the reasons why, or the full amount, or the actions that had been taken, or even a timeline ever. And it destroyed our relationship. And so this is what happens when you can't communicate. And this is what happens when you don't live in alignment, when you don't have the ability to feel safe enough to speak to your truth. And that's never going to happen to me again. And I hope it won't happen to you. I hope you tune in and I hope you learn something, because you don't have to be stuck in these toxic relationships. How you do anything is how you do everything. Personal, professional, romantic, friendship. That's what it is. But you could also find healing. Thank you so much for watching the On Me IRL pod. If you want to support the mission, the quickest way to do that is to hit the subscribe button. Also, what really helps algorithmically is to like, share, comment. If you have any thoughts, drop it in the comments below. I'm happy to respond to all of them. I will be responding personally. Also, if any of the a few of my favorite things, my affiliate partnerships, are interesting to you, you could find them all in the link above, including but not limited to Equip Protein, Built Bars, Slate's not on there yet because they don't have an affiliate program, but Recess, Routine, and Camuso Design, all things to help you stay sane, hydrated, and aligned in your power. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. So yesterday I was filming this as I was about to go outside. And at the end of the filming, I started to feel like sweaty and hot, and I had turned my air up, meaning like it was like I was trying to save energy and make it so that the air wasn't on a lower setting, so I would save money. And I just started feeling overheated. My heart started to pound. I started to feel sweaty. My stomach started to hurt. And I ended up having to like rush off of here and like strip off all my clothes and lay in bed for a little bit before going outside. And I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. It's never happened to me before. It was kind of scary. And I realized later in the day that I had a migraine and I didn't even know it, because it started in my stomach and it had been like, I took like an Excedrin migraine because my doctor had told me that, because like for myriad reasons, there is a lot of issues with ordering my migraine tabs. Like they won't give you a certain amount, and then my insurance was canceled and all these things. So I was trying to limit the amount that I would use of it. And she's like, just have, an Excedrin migraine if you're trying to manage them better and it's not that bad. So I realized though later in the evening that my jaw really hurt and I was hunching over every time I had to think about or talk to my ex-husband about this very terrible situation that we're still in, because he can't speak his truth and his parents are sociopathic, wounded children. And they've been stealing from us in the family business and defrauding us for the last 20 years. And he doesn't understand that he needs to solve this problem. And I don't know how to solve it anymore. And I've been solving it for 20 years. And I was solving it for 40 years, my whole life, which is how I got into it. And your body literally tries to protect you and tries to speak to you in different ways. And sometimes even when you're the most connected to it, you don't understand it. So I ended up having to take a migraine tab last night. I washed my hair. I felt better. In fact, this is my hair like just naturally dried, which is kind of cool. I took a tab. I felt better. And then what was weird was, so I had a reading with Lily earlier in the day, and my mom hasn't shown up in one of my dreams since she first died in 2019. And she was in my dream last night, and my dad was in my dream last night. And my dad was like, you could always ask me for help. And I'm like, how? How am I going to ask you for help? You could barely help yourself. And in my dream, he was still alive, and so was my mom. But it was weird because I was living here. And it's really scary when you don't have people on this earth that are alive to help you, and people are committed to defrauding you. And the only person that you have to support you and to protect you and to provide for you can't even do that for themselves. And what I learned through all of this, through my experiences, is that like my migraines that started when I was a junior in high school, and my dad started to get really, really sick and never recovered. He took me to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor told me it was subluxation. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And he was like, he taught me about the spinal alignment and all of those things, but that didn't help me in my day-to-day engagements, right? It wasn't until I learned about trauma and how we protect ourselves literally in our bodies that I started to be aware enough and connected to myself to notice when I was hunched over. And every time I speak to my ex-husband, I started to hunch over. And every time I thought about not having any support or any help and being in this extremely terrifying situation, literally my worst nightmare, I started to hunch over. And that definitely didn't help the our existing grinding of my teeth and my migraine. The literal inability to be aligned in your body makes us sick. And when we can't be aligned in our mind body, we literally get ill. And when we can't speak our truth, we're out of alignment. But when we can, and we can be connected enough to understand what's going on, we can adjust ourselves. And alignment really matters. So I was really grateful that when I woke up this morning, I cried, I rolled like a bunch of joints, I cleaned, I did what I needed to do. And I thought, and I was like, subluxation is real. I just didn't understand what it meant, right? Like when I was in high school and the chiropractor was like, just come back and get adjustments. And that didn't help my migraines, right? And I didn't take medicine for them until 2024, which is crazy pants. Like I used to pop Excedrin, just plain old Excedrin, and to leave like M&Ms, like when I was in college. But I never mentioned it to a doctor when I went to my gyno or my regular doctor because everyone was so obsessed with my weight and all the other things. Like I had higher blood pressure when I was like 22 years old, and it didn't make sense. And it was from all of this stress living in my body. The migraines were from the stress living in my body. And even though I'm so connected to myself, I didn't realize that I had a migraine because it started in my stomach yesterday. So I thought like I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it wasn't until later that evening that I was like, oh wow, that was a migraine. And it was scary. And I also noticed that when I'm not standing up straight, the curvature, right, being misaligned is something that literally makes us sick. So the subluxation is real. But if you don't understand the context of why you're protecting yourself and when you're hunching over and when you're not standing up straight, I make such a concerted effort on a second to second basis to stand up straight, because when you stand up straight and you have posture that is actually in alignment and is protecting your body, you could actually make much better decisions and you could prevent illness and reverse chronic illness through biohacking. So these are real things that took me decades of my life to learn. Like if I was 16 and someone told me that subluxation wasn't just misalignment, but it was all of these things that we were protecting ourselves and it was stress, and to be aware and to teach me how to live in my body, I wouldn't have had to wait till I was almost 40 to finally get help. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today. These are my experiences. I do have a few trauma certificates. I'm getting a certificate in executive leadership from a dream university. Honestly, I'm really excited about that. And stay tuned because we're going to find ways to get through these hard moments. And if you just notice, right, you just notice without judgment, without giving it meaning, without being harsh on yourself, without providing more shame or inducing more shame in your body, and say, hey, this thought or this action or this conversation or this person or whatever this is making me feel hunched over. And then you meet that with curiosity instead of judgment, the whole world changes. And I was able to take the medicine and feel better and have a better day today and cry and release and, be a little bit gentle with myself. This has been so hard. And I never used sunscreen. I never used moisturizer till I was literally like almost 40. I didn't have time because I was in lifelong survival mode. And now I'm nourishing my body in different ways. It makes me cry literally because I never I never knew how to take care of myself, but I knew how to survive. I didn't know how to be gentle. I didn't know how to be nice to myself, but I had all the empathy and all the answers for everyone else until I didn't have any. It's like the giving tree. I will see you maybe later today. And because I've basically reversed chronic illness, I've biohacked my body into healthy and reversed chronic pain. When I have those migraines, sometimes I don't even realize it right away because I'm now not always in pain, and they don't always become pronounced through ways that I'm used to in my body. So when I first started body work with Alexa, she went to touch my under armpit on my left side, and I was like, ow. I was in a lot of pain. Now, this is someone who never took pain medicine. I had an open wound underneath my chest, literally like for a month, and the doctor's like, oh, you must be Russian. I was like, no, I'm German, because I refused to take the pain medicine. And I wanted to feel it, and I didn't want to be addicted to it, and I knew my limits, right? I've always been so smart in protecting myself, but also so out of my body in not protecting myself. That's literally what complex trauma is. But when she first touched me here in May of 2022, and I winced, and she then touched my arm, and she's like, this is the pressure that I used there, and it didn't hurt. She's like, you're protecting your heart. And I didn't know what that meant. And it took me years to understand that fully. But when we gain weight and we have pain and we get sick, we are protecting ourselves. Our bodies are protecting us from unsafe situations. And my body felt unsafe. And when I speak my truth and I say all the things that I want to say, I sent my ex-husband a message last night that is going to be posted as part of one of these things. And this is real. This is what I'm literally dealing with. And when we hide our truth and we don't live in reality, we end up protecting ourselves in various ways. And I was protecting my heart. And that was ultimately why, in February of 2023, my one thought that changed everything was that I was protecting myself, and I was protecting my ex-husband because I didn't want to hurt him. And I didn't want to put myself out there again. And now I've been able to put myself out there again in really healthy ways and say no and speak my truth and allow people into my life if I feel safe. And the number one indicator of safety in another person is, can they answer a direct question? And if they can't, adios, sayonara, see you later, peace out. I wish you the best. But I don't care if it's romantic, professional, or friendship, family. No, thank you. I don't care if it's a neighbor. I don't care if it's anybody. I need a direct response. Like, this isn't a DR campaign, but like, this is a real thing. Like, if you ask someone a direct question and they can't answer it, that's not a safe person. And the whole point is to engage with safe people and see how your body feels when you're with that person and when you're engaging with other people. And the only way to know that is through getting to know yourself really well and connecting with yourself deeper and being able to use your body to inform all of your decisioning in a day. And, I often compare it to data and measurement and analytics. And my background is that in advertising and technology. And it's true, it's how do you use data sets, and are they clean, and are you using them properly? Do you know how to read the data that your body is providing you? Because after all, we're the original AI. We train AI models, much like, you could train AI models, you could train your brain and your nervous system for a new reality and make that the most powerful machine in your life. So these are just something to think about. I am allowing myself to cry. I feel better when I cry. I release. It's a release. It helps. It literally makes me feel better. That's why babies cry when they're scared. And the last really bad migraine I had was in April of 2025. It was the most terrifying migraine of my life. And in retrospect, I understood why, because I was with my now ex-best friend and she couldn't communicate a very serious situation with me, but my body knew it. And I was holding her little baby, and you'll see the picture, and I'm like, you would never know that I was that sick. And I took her back up to her car. I got them in the car. The lights went out and her baby started to cry. And I was like, you're okay. You're not alone. And like, when we feel really alone and isolated, we cry like babies, right? But it's acceptable for children to cry, and it's not acceptable for adults to have emotions or cry. And the reality is that it is acceptable. We're allowed to have emotions. We need to have emotions in order to live. We're not machines. We're not robots. I'm not an ice queen. I'm not a machine. I'm a human. I'm not a concept. And when we depersonalize others and ourselves, it's easier to abuse ourselves and others. Say, oh, I'm a machine. I could just get through this. I don't have emotions. I don't need it. And we were taught that we weren't allowed to have emotions, or our emotions are too overwhelming for others. I've been the victim of both sides of that. I told my sibling that her emotions were too overwhelming for me. And that was because I was taught by our mother that my emotions were too overwhelming for her because she didn't know how to process them. And when you learn how to have emotions, process them, release them, it changes your whole life. And when you learn to listen to your body and connect to yourself, connect to others, connect to a higher power, it changes everything. So this is what I'm sharing with you today. And life is a highway. And, we're just trying to get by each day. And this is how to your life in real life. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the beautiful weather. Then I'm going to edit some so that y'all can get some knowledge and some support and feel less alone. Thank you so much for watching the On Me IRL pod with your host, Lauren Friedman, not another healing asshole. If you want to support the mission and the project and this channel, the quickest way to do that is to hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're so inclined, please like, share, and comment any thoughts in the comments below. I will personally be responding to them. And if any of the products that I showcase or wear or speak about are interesting to you, please don't forget to shop them in the links above, including but not limited to merch with the perp, as well as all of my affiliate products, including Camuso Design, Recess, Routine, Built, as well as Equip, and more. Always adding more each day to better ourselves, because together we rise from me to me IRL. I just want to share some of the brand partners that really help save my sanity, help my nervous system, and just keep me sane and from losing my mind each day. So first is Camuso. Camuso is a breathing tool that helps you regulate your nervous system in real time. And before we dive in, I'd like to do a little breathwork exercise together. So I like to do a 4-4-8 breath. And what you do is you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, and then you exhale slowly for 8. And that is where the magic happens. And that is where your heart rate gets reduced, your blood pressure gets reduced, your sanity comes back, your will to live, and your body literally can get regulated from a state of dysregulation to a state of regulation in real time. So let's do it together. It's literally magic. Like you could feel the difference. You can literally feel the shift. That's why it's called the Camuso shift. The next thing is Equip protein bars with 20 grams of grass-fed protein, as well as Built protein bars with 17 to 20 grams of protein as well. That has whey protein in it. Both of those things help you stay regulated. They keep you fuller. They help build amino acids, which keeps your brain from having brain fog. It helps you think clearer, and it just helps you stay saner. The next thing that I'm absolutely obsessed with is Morning Routine. Morning Routine is an electrolyte that is only 3 ingredients. It's literally apple cider vinegar, organic lemon, and sea salt. It's so delicious, and it's literally my favorite way to hydrate. I'm a wateraholic. I carry around a 64-ounce water bottle just for fun. I've been drinking water my whole life, and I stopped drinking a few years ago, which is why I love Recess as well for the sobriety spectrum drinks. But literally all of these things keep us regulated, they keep us hydrated, they keep us sane, they keep us full, and they just keep us from losing our minds. So that's what I'm doing. You can find all the links to buy those products in the links above.